There was a time when television wasn't just entertainment, it was a window. A glowing square that connected families, shaped dreams, and whispered into our minds. But as decades passed, many began to notice something else. That some commercials from those golden years weren't just strange, they were unsettling. And maybe, just maybe, they weren't made to sell anything at all. In the 1960s, television had become a silent member of the family. Dinner tables moved closer to it. Parents trusted it. Children believed every word it said. But advertisers learned quickly that repetition and rhythm could do more than sell. They could influence. Psychologists hired by corporations began to experiment. Subliminal flashes, strange color patterns, even tones that made people slightly anxious, so they'd pay more attention. Gainsberger, 1966, a harmless dog food commercial. Except for the eyes, the dog never blinks, and the jingle repeats the phrase "good boy" exactly 17 times. Sound engineers later discovered that each repetition was recorded at a slightly different frequency, mimicking the rhythm of a human heartbeat. Then there was the 1960 sun lamp ad, showing a mother frying her baby, a chilling depiction of negligence presented as harmless. Or the Sanka ad, where a father's aggressive behavior towards his child is cured by decaffeinated coffee. It suggested a disturbing normalcy to child abuse, subtly endorsing it as something caffeine-related rather than a serious issue. Coincidence, or did someone somewhere understand that fear and comfort sometimes live in the same place? As we moved into the 1970s, the unsettling undertones intensified. In 1972, Burger Chef released a commercial where two smiling children invite you to come eat with us forever. The ad was banned after parents complained their kids were having nightmares. The footage was quietly destroyed, but one 80mm reel resurfaced in an attic in Ohio, with an extra 12 seconds that were never aired. An empty restaurant, tables perfectly set, and a voice whispering, "Don't go home." Consider the unsettling Douglas DC-8 airplane ads of the 70s. Their stark, almost sterile imagery and the blank, unsettling stares of the passengers made you question not just the destination, but the nature of travel itself. It whispered of a journey into the unknown, stripped of joy. And toy commercials from the early 70s, featuring dolls with overly large, unblinking eyes or robotic figures with synthesized monotone voices. They blurred the line between playful innocence and something far more sinister, subtly conditioning children to embrace the uncanny. But what if we never really left? What if those commercials didn't disappear? They just kept playing, somewhere between frequencies. In the 1970s, the American living room became a shrine. Every night, the same ritual repeated. The click of the television knob. The static, the glow. Commercials weren't just interruptions anymore. They were tiny dreams, 30-second fragments of a world that never existed. And yet, some of those dreams felt wrong, too real, too perfect, almost hypnotic. Researchers at Duke University once described the television trance, a measurable drop in brain activity that occurs after 30 seconds of continuous viewing. Advertisers knew this. They built entire campaigns around it. In 1978, Colgate ran a toothpaste commercial featuring a family sitting around the TV brushing their teeth together, but the camera never cut away. For nearly a full minute, the family just stared at the viewer, smiling, brushing, not blinking. The commercial aired only once during a late-night broadcast in the Midwest. Viewers reported nausea, headaches, and a strange ringing in their ears. Colgate quietly pulled the ad the next morning, claiming it was a test reel accidentally broadcast. No master tape was ever found, but patterns like this kept repeating. A cereal brand called Morning Star Oats released an ad in 1975 that opened with a rising sun and a voice whispering, "Wake up, it's already too late." Behind the cheery melody, analysts later found an audio layer of reverse speech, phrases that when played backwards repeated the words, "Buy more, stay calm, obey." It sounds like something out of a conspiracy theory, but documents released in the 1990s confirmed that multiple ad agencies had, in fact, experimented with low-volume subliminal tracks to test consumer response. They said it was harmless, just science. But some of those frequencies were never meant to be heard by the conscious mind. A handful of technicians who worked on these projects claimed to experience insomnia, paranoia, and a sense of being watched. One editor, identified only as RL, wrote in a private journal, Sometimes when I'm splicing footage, I see faces in the frames that weren't filmed. Faces that move when I pause the reel. By the early 1980s, television advertising had become faster, louder, more colorful, and yet the uncanny tone remained. Dozens of toy commercials featured close-ups of dolls with glass eyes reflecting studio lights. Tiny reflections that looked almost like other faces inside them. In a 1983 ad for Baby Laughs, the doll suddenly turns its head toward the camera mid-shot. The actor in the scene visibly flinches, but the cut was left in. According to production notes, that take wasn't planned. The doll wasn't supposed to move. The manufacturer blamed a malfunctioning servo, but when the ad re-aired 6 months later, the same moment occurred again. Identical in every frame. That doll was quietly discontinued. Even now, collectors report that early VHS copies of these ads sometimes distort when played, as if the tape itself resists being watched. The faces blur, the smiles twist, and if you pause at the right second, you might notice something else. A flicker, a frame that doesn't belong. Someone standing in the background, watching you, silent, still, waiting for the next commercial break. By 1984, something changed. The commercials were louder, faster, more colorful, but emptier. The strange warmth of the 60s and 70s had vanished, replaced by something synthetic. People started feeling uneasy, even when nothing was wrong. They couldn't explain it, but they could feel it, as if the screen itself was humming. Around that same time, a memo surfaced inside the Federal Communications Commission, an internal document labeled Project Echo. It described an experiment where television networks broadcasted hidden frequencies between frames, inaudible to the human ear, but capable of triggering subtle emotional responses. The memo was dated 1981, signed only with initials, RC. 3 months later, the project was shut down, all data erased. But people who worked in local TV stations claimed to notice strange interference during that period, static that formed shapes, sometimes a faint voice. Keep watching. There were rumors of a videotape, a lost compilation known as the FCC archive tape, supposedly containing dozens of banned commercials, experimental ad segments, and corrupted test reels from the late 70s. No one knows where it came from. Some say it was copied by an engineer before the files were destroyed. Others believe it was created entirely by the signal itself. Recorded straight from the airwaves, a collection of fragments that refused to die. In 1998, a VHS labeled Echo 84 appeared at a yard sale in Nebraska. The tape had no label besides a handwritten note, "Do not rewind." The buyer, a man named Harold Pike, claimed that when he tried to play it, his television turned itself off after exactly 2 minutes. When he tried again, the screen showed a single image, a smiling family from a 1973 cereal commercial, frozen in place. Their eyes were black, and behind them something moved. Pike threw the tape away the next morning, but some say he kept the audio. On the recording, a faint jingle can be heard under layers of static. The same 3 notes repeating endlessly, and if you slow it down, it forms a phrase. We'll be right back. Today, those old commercials are relics, artifacts of a simpler time when we thought television was just harmless nostalgia. But if you've ever stared too long at a glowing screen and felt something staring back, maybe those signals never really stopped. Maybe they're still out there, waiting for another frequency, another generation, another mind to tune in. After all, the program is over, but the broadcast never ends.